Hilchos Yesodei HaTorah, the Hadama, the preface of the Rambam. Hilchos Yesodei HaTorah. Rambam always tells you how many halachas there are, mitzvahs there are in each section. Yesh beklolin esa mitzvahs. You have in it 10 mitzvahs. Sheish mitzvahs aseh, 6 positive commandments, v'ala mitzvahs lo yisesa. And 4 mitzvahs negative, zero portam. And we'll soon learn what they are. We'll go down to the Peirush of the Rambam. The first sefer of the Rambam of the 14 Surah is called Sefer Hamada, the sefer of knowledge, from knowing. The first sefer includes all the mitzvahs which are the basis of what we would call Das Moshe, the religion of Moshe Rabbeinu HaTorah Tzivon Moshe. The person has to know these before everything else, like knowing what does it mean to focus on the oneness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu and the forbiddenness of idol worship. The Rambam begins every sefer with a posuk from the writings, and Sefer Hamada begins with a posuk of Tilim, and here there's a hint of the Rambam at what's going to be included in the Sefer, that it is the knowledge and the understanding. The Ramelech prayed, please pull over your charity to those who know you, those who comprehend you, and tzidkos, for your righteousness, to those who are straight of heart, because by knowing Hashem, one can figure out how to be straight of heart. Now, the Sefer of Knowledge begins with the Yesodei HaTorah, and on the side there's a Peirush that was printed with it, which is called HaMefarish, and it explains every word, but we don't know who wrote it. It's an unknown author. In Hilchos Yesodei HaTorah, we also find the mitzvahs that they are the main points of Torah and its foundation, that if a person will not comprehend the fact of God's existence and that HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows what man does, he will not have belief the Torah was given from Sinai. Therefore, somebody who doesn't admit to the existence of Hashem is called somebody who denies the basis or the very essence of existence, as we find in the end of Halacha Vav, because HaKadosh Baruch Hu is that which causes everything to exist. The main parts of religion are: 1, to know that there is a God who created the world; 2, that there is no other God other than Him. These are 2 mitzvahs that we find the creation and the heavenly makeup, which the Rambam will explain in Perek Beis Halacha Yud Aleph, what creation is and how the heavenly makeup is, and the difference between them, as we'll see also in Perek Gimel in chapter 3 and chapter 4. Mefarish explains the reason the Rambam took the Ma'aseh Bereshis or Ma'aseh Makova into the ideas of the 2 mitzvahs of knowing there is a God, because from knowing the world and knowing the heavens, a person can understand proofs that God is found and He established everything. And after that He has established in his heart the truthfulness of the actuality of the existence of God, there's no other like Him in the world, you should love Him and fear Him, and it's only appropriate to do so. Sanctify His name, listen to what He tells you through His prophets, and all that which we will see is part of the laws of Yesodei HaTorah, the foundation of Torah. The main reason that I'm called this Sefer Hamada, the Mefarish says, because we have all the mitzvahs that have to do with thought and understanding and knowledge. And since he started to explain the mitzvahs that between God and man and God, Therefore, we start off, you say that Torah, because here, basically, they're in the Torah and its foundation. And all that of the creation and heaven is to know those things who created the world. There's no other than Him. And from this knowledge obligates other mitzvahs which are mentioned in Hilchos Yesodei HaTorah. Now, we said above, Hilchos Yesodei HaTorah, the Rambam says, has 10 mitzvahs, 6 of which are positive, and 4 mitzvahs which are negative commandments, and these are their specifics. Leida sheish shom Eloka, should know that there is a God. That's the first positive commandment. 2, Shaliyalav machshava sheish shom Eloha acher zulose Hashem. That person should not think that there's any other God in the world other than Hashem. Liyachtoi, to make him, to show that all of existence is from His oneness. La'avoi, to love Him. 5 is to fear Him. 6 is to sanctify His name. Now we come to the negatives. Shaloi lechal shmoi, not to degrade His name. 8, Shaloi la'abid dvorim shenikro shmoi aleim, not to destroy things that are associated with Him, like a beis medrash or svarim. Tes 9, l'shmoi min hanovi amidav b'shmoi, to listen, to hearken to the prophet who speaks in His name. 10, Shaloi nasoiso, you shouldn't test him. And we'll see the clarification of all these mitzvahs as we go into these specific chapters. Now, the Peirush is later Sheish Shem Eloka, that there is a God, because it says, Anechi Hashem Elokecha, I am the Lord your God. In the Sefer HaMitzvahs, it's interesting, the Rambam counts mitzvahs 3 times. One time we find his order according in Sefer HaMitzvahs. The second time is here. Before you say that Torah, he again in the Yad lists all the mitzvahs, but he has a different order there. And the third time is before each of these subject chapters, he mentions the mitzvahs associated with them. So he counts it as mitzvahs, say number 1. Sefer HaChinuch, it's counted as the 25th mitzvah. And we'll see whether the mitzvah is to believe or to know, and the difference between knowledge and belief. Second mitzvah is that we should not think there's any other God. It says, there shall be no other gods. And that's the second mitzvah of the 10 Commandments. Yesodei, because it says, Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, and this is the second positive commandment in Sefer HaMitzvahs. In the Chinuch, it's 416. La'avoi, because it says V'ahavta Hashem Elokecha, again a portion of Shema, and Sefer HaMitzvahs it's number 3. Li'yirah, to fear Him, it says Hashem Elokecha you should fear, and mitzvahs in Sefer HaMitzvahs is the 4th one, and the 6th one is to sanctify His name, as it says in Vayikra 22:32, I shall be sanctified amongst Klal Yisrael. Shaloi lechal shmoi, one should not desecrate His name. It says, you shall not desecrate my holy name. Sefer HaMitzvahs, it is Lo Yisesa 63. And 8, Shaloi la'amid dvorim shenikra shmoi aleim, you should not destroy things which His name is called upon them. So it says, Lo yisasen kein Hashem lekechem, you shall not do so to your Hashem, your God. Sefer HaMitzvah, this is Mitzvah 65. Shmoya min hanovi amidav b'shmoi, to listen to the Novi who speaks in His name. And as it says, Elov tishmoin, you have to hearken to him. The first one who did that was Yitzchak, who listened to Avram. Shaloi nasoisoi, because Avram was a Novi. We should not test him. And Sefer HaMitzvahs, it's number 62. And all of these mitzvahs will be explained in the following chapters. Now we begin Hilchos Yesodei HaTorah, Perek Aleph, Halacha Aleph. Yesodei is Amud HaChochma. Now notice how the Rambam begins, as many svarim afterwards as well, that he has a Yud, K, Vov, K, which is the letters of Hashem, that the foundation of all foundations and the pillar of all wisdom. And we'll go down that it could be that the Rambam wanted to open his work hinting to the name of Hashem. And the way we start Kiddush Leil Shabbos, that's why we say Yom HaShishi. Even though it says it was day and night, the sixth day, and then it stops, we add it to Kiddush. We say Yom HaShishi V'chol HaShamayim, to have the letters Yud, K, Vav, K, which is the holy name. And therefore it's mentioned, we start with Yom HaShishi, even though you should say silently Vayer Vayvoika. And there are others who begin from the beginning of the Pasuk, which is Vayar Hashem is Kodesh also V'ini Toiv Me'oid. Yeah, they say loudly Yom HaShishi. The word Yesodei, the word foundations, we find in the Mishnayos of the Rambam, the Sanhedrin, Perek Chelik. There he writes that the main foundation of our religion are 13. That's the 13 Commandments. And he says the foundation of the foundations, the first one of the 13 basic precepts is to know that there is a God who was there before us, that He created and controls everything that goes on among creatures, and He alone did, does, and will do everything that occurs. And on this foundation, all the other foundations of belief are based. But he adds the pillar of wisdom. He means to know about Ma'aser Bereshis, the creation, and the heavens. That the pillar is that there is something that was found first. So the Rambam continues, Leidish Yesh Shom Motzui Rishon. That means that there was something that preceded everything that was created. That there was nothing that preceded Hashem. Because God has no beginning, no end. We don't understand that because we are delineated by time. As the Mishnah explains that He's found every place. As the Pasuk says in Yeshayahu, the world is full of His glory. That the greatness of Hashem is found in everything in the entire universe. And even the Rambam is Shem, or Shom, a place. He doesn't mean a specific place, because the whole world is full of His glory, but it means in Arabic, like the Peirush. Therefore, the word Shom means there is a God, just like we say in English there, and Rafa in Arabic would be Rapa, which means there, and therefore it doesn't mean a place. There are those who explain that Shom is referring to the heaven, that there it's more recognizable in heaven, but certainly his kingdom is in everything. The Mefarish, the Peirush says Motzui, that He's found, that there obligation to recognize His existence, and everything that anyone wants to know His existence will only comprehend it from the surroundings thereof. Meaning, once we know our limitations, then we know where God is. And since HaKadosh Baruch Hu has no boundaries, therefore you can't say any other epithets, any other description, because everything else has a boundary. In this very deep thought is discussed among those philosophers, and according to the Rambam in the Moreh Nevuchim, that all of these descriptions that we place on HaKadosh Baruch Hu in holy writings or in the words of Chazal, they are to negate the description. That means that if we say He's wise, it means that He is the essence of wisdom as opposed to knowledgeable. There is to comprehend what is the obligation of believing in Hashem. It doesn't mean that you have to believe that there's Hashem without questioning, or it's a mitzvah to try to find it, like the Rambam would seem to be saying here. Halacha above, in the sixth halacha, he writes that knowing this is a positive commandment. So it seems you have to know, and you can only know if you look into it. In Sefer HaMitzvahs, he writes that the first mitzvah is the commandment which he commanded us to believe in his godliness, as it says, with the reasoning and the workings of everything that takes place in the world. And it's where HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, "I am the Lord thy God," meaning that it's enough to have belief. And it's known that Sefer Yad HaChazaka, which we have, the Rambam wrote in Hebrew. But the other works that he wrote initially, like Sefer HaMitzvahs, they were written in Arabic. They were translated to Hebrew, and everyone who translated the Arabic wrote to believe. On Sefer Metzudas Dovid, he questions and he writes the mitzvah is to know. That the mitzvah is you should be knowledgeable about it, and to recognize it, even to believe with a simple belief. But philosophers which bring proof to show that God exists, and one of them is the Rambam, where in the Mur Nevuchim he brings proof that this is the true belief. Therefore the Rambam wrote the beginning of Mishnah Torah that the basis of all, the foundation of all foundations and the pillar of all wisdom is to know that there is someone who preceded all of creation, and he doesn't say to believe, because you have to know, because the intellect and religion are two separate items. The intellect proves the fact of Hashem, and religion is the belief in Hashem. Sefer Hilchos Sukkah and Lulav to the Smagi writes, the commandment is to believe. Via Mashal, the Smagi writes, you need both. You need Emunah and Kabbalah. Emunah means belief alone, that from his youth he knows there is a God. That doesn't fulfill his obligation. Only when he has received it in his heart, the facts of what he's seen. As we find, the Smagi brings down from Rabbeinu Sadia, Sefer HaNitzochim writes that a person cannot fulfill belief only if he studied and he comprehends the obligation of recognizing that there is Hashem. Still, we don't rely only on wonders, if not that the belief is fixed in our hearts, then it's enough what we see. If a person believes in his heart, the proofs only complete what he knows already. Mashal goes into that, and we see that the main idea of keeping the mitzvahs is through knowledge, but it could come even to be someone who is already a believer. In the Sefer Kinas Seifrim, on the mitzvahs, Sefer HaMitzvahs, the Rambam, he writes, the intent of the Rambam when he says Yesodei Amudei HaChochmas, that he differentiates between the foundation of foundations and the pillar of wisdom as two things. Yesodei is the foundation of foundations, is belief. Amud HaChochma, the pillar of wisdom, is knowing through wonders that there is someone who caused everything else to be found. He formed all that is found, and all that is found in heaven and earth and what is between them, the empty space between them. It can only be from the truthfulness of his existence. Everything that you see from angels and the cycles of the stars and the world, this world, everything is from Hashem. He caused it all to happen. That's what the Midrash says. You should read on Dvarim Rabbah, Perek Beis 28, and you place into your heart, return to your heart, because Hashem is the God in heaven above and on the earth below. There is no other. And even in the emptiness, that's what his Rambam says, Shemayim v'oretz, heaven and earth, and what's between them. He means even where you would seem to think there is a vacuum.